Friends, welcome back to the channel. This is Wesley with Debt Finance. One of my favorite things to do in my downtime is to just kind of browse Reddit. And since I've been getting more into the financial world and finance, like I said, just learning about that type of thing, I followed a couple subreddits that are catered sort of to just different advice. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. And I thought, what better way to open the channel than to look at some situations that people have gotten themselves in and just kind of examine those types of things and see what we think about them together. So this first one is pretty interesting. I'm going to read it off. I'll give you guys a second to kind of formulate your own thoughts. You can pause the video after I read it, and then we'll dive into it. So we have the title of this post. Actually, I won't read it. I don't want anybody to shame like whoever this person is, or be able to track down, you know, like I said, that's not the whole goal. We're just trying to get an idea of things that people tend to do. So 42, single mom, 20-year-old out of state at a university on partial scholarship, year 2 of 4. 10-year-old still lives at home. Annual salary before taxes $94,000. I pay roughly $20,000 towards my 20-year-old son's tuition. Rent's $2,100, $35 a month. Car note $610. Credit card debt $1,200 across 3 low balance cards that I use each month and try to pay off in full monthly. Behind 30 days, $95,000 in student loans in an MBA program, which you're still borrowing for. 0 in savings. Keep pulling money from 401k. Current 401k balance is 0. Other than travel 3 times a year, I can't see where my money is going. I don't make any big purchases. I make several trips to Walmart every week. $11,000 in collections. The biggest being $7,000 that I owe to a university that I recently withdrew from. I feel like the small purchases of $30 here and there are eating up my money, and I need to get my finances in order, yet I don't know what to work on first. How should I be saving each month based on my income? How much rent should I be paying based on my income? Where should I put my savings in? A CD or something else that pulls interest? Should I be investing? What can I do to pay down debt fast? Open to all suggestions. Financial literacy was never taught in my home growing up. I want to be able to live comfortably both now and in my retirement years. My biggest concern now is that I am literally living paycheck to paycheck, often running out of cash in between. So that's the scenario that we have. I'll give you guys a second to think about it. Pause the video if you need, and just see what you think, and then we'll talk about it. I'm gonna drink my coffee. So there's a lot to unpack here. The first thing that jumps out at me, 42, single mom. 42 years old is not as young as we want to make it. Like youth wise, you've still got 30 years of good adult living ahead of you, where you can enjoy your hobbies and enjoy the things you like to do. Financially, 42, you are, if you don't have savings, you're behind. Let's just put it that way. You're behind if you don't have savings at 30, because of how compounding interest and investment accounts and that type of thing work. So 42 is not the place you want to be when you're trying to figure things out. Okay, so that's the first thing that jumps out. We've got a 20-year-old son, or 20-year-old child, I guess, who's out of state at a university on partial scholarship in their second year. We'll talk about this in a second. I'm going to kind of breeze over it until we get to the rest of that information. A 10-year-old that lives at home. Again, not really much that you can do about that. Kids are expensive. Annual salary before taxes is $94,000 per year, which is pretty good money. It's actually above it's significantly above the median in America. So $94,000 a year, essentially before taxes. Let me do some quick math here. You're looking at about $7,000. That'd be 84. So $7,000 a month before taxes, and then your taxes, depending on what write-offs you have, deductions and that type of thing, are going to be about 20%. So Anywho, still good money. You're probably taking home, I don't know, you figure $8,000 before tax, you're probably taking home $6,500 a month, $6,000 a month. So good money. That's not the problem here. I pay roughly $20,000 towards my son's tuition. So that's something. Rent is $2,100 a month. Pretty high. Car note is $610, very high. Credit card debt's actually not a problem, but they're behind. $95,000 in student loans for an MBA program, which is not a bad, not a bad way to go. And then travel 3 times a year. Yeah, okay, I've read enough. There are a couple really glaring problems here. One, she's 42 years old, doesn't have any savings, and is just now trying to get her life in order. Like I said, if you're 42 years old and you're just now trying to save money, that is bad news, bears. You are, I'm not going to say substantially behind, but you're behind in comparison. So depending on the type of job that you pursue, so like for some people, saving until the age of, saving before the age of like 28 for somebody who pursues like a professional degree, so like medical school or something, is not the most feasible thing to do, right? So just from my own personal experience, when you do those types of careers, you have 4 years of college where you're probably not making a lot of money, 4 years of medical school where you're not making money, you're on student loans, and then 3 years minimum of residency training. For somebody who's working a job that's like outside of that spectrum, so outside of medicine, dentistry, law, if you have a livable income like up until that point, so say that you graduate college at 22 years old and you start working a job for $60,000 a year, the saving needs to start there, right? So you're going to have some debt probably from college, you're going to have student loans and those types of things, and that's fine. You really need to tackle those because a lot of times, especially nowadays, the debt for your student loans is going to be around 6%, if not higher. And so the way to think about that is that for every year that you don't pay off your student loans, and especially if they're not deferred or they're not subsidized while you're in school, then you're just accruing interest. And so the example everybody throws around for investing is that the S&P returns 8% per year historically, which is great. Some years it doesn't, and the student loans are always going to be there until you pay them off, and they will always accrue interest at that rate until you pay them off. So yes, in theory, your investments may make you 8%, but your student loans are guaranteed to accumulate 6 or 7% interest per year that you don't pay them off. So, and a lot of times that balance is going to be way higher than your starting investment balance. So again, just something to keep in mind. For this person, there are a couple really glaring problems. She makes really good money. $90,000 or $94,000 a year is awesome money, right? So you should be able to afford a house. You should be able to set back money in savings. You should be able to, have a nice car, and not have any problems. The big things that are jumping out at this scenario for me are the $20,000. So she's essentially cutting over a fifth of her pre-tax income out and paying it towards a child's tuition. I'm not going to say that's entirely wrong to do. I don't have kids, so for me to say that is kind of naive. Like I said, I don't know what the typical is for somebody in that position. Yeah, that works. Having said that, if you're in a position like this person is in a position where she is behind on credit cards, she has no savings for herself, she has $7,000 in collections. Let me see. Got to pull up here. Let me double check just so we don't. 11,000 in collections, and then 7,000 owed to a university. you don't have the money to take $20,000 and pay towards tuition for anyone, like for even yourself. If you're in collections, you are steps and steps behind, like you are steps and steps down the wrong path, right? So you've missed payments and payments and payments, and now they're coming after you for money. There are just hard choices in life sometimes, and this is going to be one where you have to. So if they're on a partial scholarship and she's still having to pay $20,000 a year, that is too much money for an undergraduate degree for anyone, just period. Out-of-state tuition, you can make an entire video on this, but out-of-state tuition is absolutely going to milk you for everything you are worth. And usually for most undergrads, you can be looking at $45,000 upwards to $60,000 a year out-of-state tuition at some schools, right? So to spend $20,000, like, I get it. You love your kids. This is financial suicide. You are in a bad spot. You're in a bad spot. So that's that. I could spend literally this entire time talking about that, but that's just really silly. This needs to be a sit-down conversation with, the son or whoever, and just, you have to be honest with them. There are programs to pay for college for kids, right? Like, I took out loans to pay for school. I took out, my own loans under my own name, federal loans, and I will have to pay them back. If they're on partial scholarship and not taking out loans, this person needs to be honest with themselves and just say, hey, look, I am not in a place where I can give you this contribution. If you just dialed it back to, this is again a whole nother video. If you just dialed that contribution back, so she's been paying this for 2 years, right? So that's $40,000. She's only got $11,000 in collections, so that would cover all of that and then some. You've got a little bit of credit card debt that would totally wipe that out, and then you would also have probably enough money. So let's see, you've got $11,000 in collections that would be gone over. So say that you dialed this back to $10,000, right? So you got $30,000 over 2 years that you freed up. You wipe out your collections, and then you can also probably wipe out your car. So that frees up $600 a month. Plus, you don't have to worry about the debt hounds, sniffing your trail. Yeah, that's just a sad situation. Other aspects of this, like I said, that's the big elephant in the room. That's the problem we're looking into. The other aspects of the situation that are kind of concerning, $610 on a car payment is a lot of money. A lot of money. So for her, like I said, if we're estimating that she brings home, $6,500, she's paying almost 10% of her income for a car note, not counting her insurance on it. If it's financed, it'll need full coverage insurance. So you're probably looking at, depending on the car it is, I haven't personally talked to this person, but you're looking at $800 a month on a vehicle. And that's too damn much. That is a lot of money. Especially when you have, things in collections. I don't know where her financial state was when she got the car note, but another thing to consider was that if her debt to income and she's got all these student loans and she's got things going into collections and that type of thing, the interest rate on that car may not be optimal. So it's not uncommon, and we see it all the time in your financial advising YouTube channels like Caleb Hammer and Dave Ramsey, that the car dealerships want to sell you a car, and they want to finance you a car too, especially if you get it through them. Because if you go to get a car and your credit is 615, and they say, we'll give you, you can get that new, truck you want. It's $40,000. And you're like, okay, nice, cool. I can afford that. Well, just because they will give you a loan does not mean you can afford that loan. So a lot of times you'll go and get it, and they're like, yeah, we'll give it to you, and it's 15%. And of course it makes sense. It makes sense for them to give you that loan because, one, you may have given a down payment. So that's money that's like theirs, period. Two, you have this like egregiously overpriced loan. So just as an example, you could probably get on Toyota and get a car for 6%, or there are some people that get them for 4%. There's different like rates depending on your credit. 4% is not unheard of for car loans, right? 12% or 15% is going to absolutely bleed you dry without you ever making progress on that car, and you are going to be upside down in the car, because when you can't make the payments and they repo it, then you're just out that money. You have no equity because you're paying all interest. So that's also a possibility here, is that she's just going underwater on this car. Travel 3 times a year, that's just stupid. One of the most frustrating things about looking at your financial situation is being able to acknowledge when you don't have the money to do things, right? So if you're in collections and you have credit card debt, maybe that credit card debt seems like it's revolving, $1,200 that she pays off mostly. I'm not Dave Ramsey. I love Dave Ramsey. I watch Dave Ramsey all the time. I don't believe in just avoiding credit cards altogether. I think they're really easy to get in trouble with, but that's another story. If you have debt in collections and you have tons of student loan debt, and then you're paying $20,000 on tuition that's not yours, you don't have money to travel, period. Like, traveling is expensive. And if you have debt that is eating you, right, you don't have money to travel. If you're putting traveling on debt, or if this scenario is kind of interesting, because this is just blatant denial is what this is. So she asks at the end of this about, investing and saving, and you don't have, like, when you're in a situation where you have, like, this person doesn't have credit card debt, which is great. When you're in a situation where you have, outstanding credit card debt, if you have outstanding, student loan debt that's, chipping away at you, you don't have the money to do those things, right? So saving and investing and planning for retirement come after you settle your debts and get that done with. Because what ends up happening is that you tuck them away, and then they just sit there and accrue interest, and you end up, it's a snowball effect, right? So as much as investing and preparing for your retirement is a snowball effect where you compound interest and that type of thing, debt works in the same way, right? So that $1,000 credit card purchase that you're paying the minimum payment on ends up turning into like $1,800 if you don't ever use the credit card again and you're just making the minimum payments. So financing, it can be really dangerous. And this person is in kind of just blatant denial about her financial situation. Unfortunately, there's some tough decisions that need to be made. I didn't even touch on her rent being $2,100. I mean, she has a child. $2,100 is about a little over a third, or right at a third of her income, which is what most people recommend. But again, she's renting. That's a really expensive rent for 2 people. Her and her kid. Her kid's 10, so you would need a 2-bedroom apartment. And I don't know, again, where this person lives, but $2,100, like a third of your income, is great for somebody who's like got everything kind of laid out in front of them. Your debts are kind of squared away, and you're coasting, so to speak. But a third of your income, whenever you're in this situation, if you can cut it down, is gonna help a lot. So that's just it. Sad situation. I hope you guys enjoyed, just like I said, talking through some of these things. I hope to do more of these videos. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. That needs to be reiterated in pretty much every video, but like I said, I just enjoy this type of thing, and I hope to make it a point that we're not here to like judge or like essentially kind of the no stupid questions type rule, where I don't know, everybody can get in these situations where you turn around, you blink your eye, you don't appreciate what it takes to be responsible financially, and you end up in a situation that's going to absolutely just weigh you down. So that's the whole purpose of this channel, is to hopefully avoid some of those situations. So I hope you guys liked it. Be sure to leave a like and comment. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, shoot me some comments about things that you've seen situations that you find yourself in. And like I said, we'll see you in the next one. I hope you stick around. Okay.